The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in the Rev after a firestorm weekend of all kinds of Facebook fury.
Yeah, and it's a short week for us this week.
Short week, yep. No, they have a long weekend at the college, so we will not be able to have a show Friday. So.
Correct.
So we will see you on Wednesday, and we can... we'll have our Thanksgiving show. I don't know if we'll.
Are you bringing the turkey or am I?
I don't know if we're going to have cranberry sauce or not, but let's begin with well, we'll save the best for last. So let's start with the Greater Fall River Vocational School District. They're looking for another debt override. Thank you. More taxes for everybody, in addition to 2.5, in addition to all the TIFs added to your tax base. And it looks like we're going to have to review this because I am going to obviously look at the numbers, but it's got to be shared by everybody at services. But Fall River will take the largest hit, and the taxpayers of Fall River will. And based on what they review in the budget, we're going to have to look at this closely, but I tend to think I will probably be in opposition to this debt override too. But I don't like to speculate, but I will say that based on the way we waste money, and after we transition, we may be able to for once realize how much money we actually have, hopefully.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what they're doing. They have a potential approved project may include a renovation of the existing school, a renovation of an addition to the existing school, and or a new construction. There's not a lot of room out there to construct anything. So the estimated construction budget of an approved potential project may range from $40 million to $240 million, depending upon the solution that is agreed upon. You know they're going to go for the new building.
Wow.
You know that.
Wow. That's a big range.
Yes,
$40 million to $240. Just remember that, taxpayers. That's the first issue. I already have an issue with this from the beginning, because to me, that range speaks volumes about how they don't give a damn about the taxpayer, and I tend to agree that they'll go with the biggest tab because they're not going to be footing the bill.
Right.
The taxpayers are.
And here's the thing, you know, the application for this process, you got to have one original, 20 hard copies, 2 digital copies of PDF format on separate thumb drives, and they must be received by December 18th. On December 5th at 11 o'clock in the morning, they're having a meeting to discuss this, a non-mandatory meeting to discuss this project. Subject to the approval of the MSBA and further subject to adequate funding authorized by the Greater Fall River Vocational School District, the contract between the district and the designer may be amended to include continued design services through the design, development, construction, contract documents, bidding, award of continued design services, and award of construction contracts, and construction administration, final closeout, and warranty period. In other words, this guy here who gets this contract is doing all of it for the $240 million. And we spoke about this at the last debt exclusion, that the next school that they were going to do this was going to be Diman.
We predicted, without a crystal ball, I may add, without a crystal ball, it was pretty obvious that the next one was Diman. But look, let me draw an analogy. I like analogies, you know, because it kind of, for some people, they look at numbers, they can't really track numbers. And let's put this in a personal analogy, because this is what they're saying, 40 to 240. Renovate existing, renovate addition, bulldoze the whole thing and start all over again from scratch. With all the contractors and the people that are going to get rich with this. So this is the analogy that I will draw, and you can agree or disagree with this, but this is what they're telling me. This is what this says to me. in this scenario, I'm going to put myself in this scenario, and I'm going to explain it to you. My house needs fixing. So I have a choice. I can renovate it at $40 million, but I can bulldoze it and build an entire new mega mansion for a lot more. It will be more modern. I'll give you all the good, but not the bad. But there's only one caveat here. Put yourself in this. Think about this. If you were making this decision and somebody told you, if the building is renovated, you have to pay for it. If we bulldoze it and spend a bundle of money, everybody in the city's going to pay for it. Which one are you going to take? The hell with it. Everybody else is paying. I'm going to actually pay less in the long run than renovating the thing. So I'm going to take, let's bulldoze the thing. My prediction is they're going for the 240. And that's a prediction. And if I'm wrong, okay, I'll buy somebody a coffee. Anybody wants to bet? I'll bet you a coffee. We're going for the big nut. Because I mean, I don't know about you, CJ, if they told you you got to pay out of your pocket to fix your house, or if you want to bulldoze it and build a new house, the taxpayers are going to pay.
That's why we're getting a new Durfee, because they chose to build a new school instead of repairing what they had.
That's right.
Or remodeling what they had.
Because what do they care? It's only the damn taxpayers.
And they said it couldn't be done, which I'm sorry, I can't believe it couldn't be done. Do I think that we needed a new school? Yes, because it was falling apart. But you couldn't do something with the husk of that building? Because the building underneath is all steel girders, like what's going up now.
Yeah, you're right, but again, it can't be done. I seem to remember that they said that the old Durfee building
couldn't be done.
Could not be. It was impossible to rehab that building.
Right.
It was done. It was falling apart. It was beyond repair. Take a walk in there now. It is absolutely gorgeous.
And it's a shame because that building's not being used.
It is a gorgeous building, and it was a gorgeous building then. Again, they lie for their own, to line their own pockets. That is absolute BS again. They're going to tell you, well, we can't do this, it's going to be too much, and it won't be modern, and this way we can modernize it, and we can't go, and they'll give you a whole bunch of crap because you're paying. And all their friends are already in line for the contracts, the concrete, the steel, the labor.
Of course.
Yeah, so, look, again, another override and another without at least the factoring in the Vaseline that they should be giving all of us. They're not going to buy the Vaseline.
No, they're not. No, they're not. But you know what's interesting is if they build a new school, because I just got a text message about this. If they build a new school, where are the students going to go? That's a lot of students. And it's not like Durfee where they can stay in the old building because they don't have a lot of land there. They really don't have a lot of land.
Maybe they're going to throw a tent up on the football field. And around the track.
I was going to say, it's going to be the racetrack.
But look, before we start getting attacked again like we did when we opposed that we're anti-education. We are not anti-education.
No, as a matter of fact, we advocate for trade
Vocational
schools.
education is one of the things we've been advocating for years on this show. How many times have we mentioned Germany and their apprenticeship programs and how effective they are? So it's not we're anti-education. I'm just anti-getting raped by the government all the time. I'm sorry. I just got something about, paying unnecessarily. And look, and as I said, again, in a city where the average individual income's like $22,000. But hey, we're going to be talking about this ad nauseum, but let's get to the next biggie. Fall River Assessor resigns after review of Kathy Ann Vivers's property values, probably on the way out. And again, we get to the point of all you have to do in this city if you commit a crime is resign and nothing happens to you. You're probably going to get bought out, because then if you read this article by Joe Good, not by the new one and Joe Good, Acting Mayor Ponte said, quote, "We fully anticipate cooperating with the requests," unquote, which are the public records requests. "We owe it to the community to do that, and we will do it accordingly," but he's going to give it to the city council first. And then, this is the one I love. Ponte said, "Any compensation to Mello is still being reviewed internally." So you're going to let all their buddies, like the other guy, he gets charges that are federal charges for machine guns and stuff. He's got the ATF down here. And he had a job that he never, and I believe you addressed this in a weekend flush, because I read it. He didn't work in the job, got injured on the job, never worked at the job. If he did, he might have went in and got injured the first hour. And he gets a $35,000 buyout. What a deal. Well, I want to know how many hours he worked in a 6-month contract. So the same people who gave him a $35,000 settlement when he didn't work are the same people who are going to review this guy. The guy that, the people who were appointed by the same person who appointed this guy.
Right.
So, you know, government at its most corrupt and government at its most inept because they categorically refuse to prosecute anybody or investigate anybody, and they allow Mary Sahadi again to say, well, it's last year. No, it's not last year. You're a fiduciary. And you, above all people, as I said on the last show, as a CPA and a lawyer, understand the obligation that a fiduciary has. And she's like the triple whammy. She's an attorney, and she should know the legal definition of a fiduciary and fiduciary responsibility. She's a CPA, and again, CPAs understand the obligations and duties of a fiduciary. And thirdly, she is the chief financial officer of the city of Fall River. You think she should understand that she has an obligation and a duty not to just take slips with no corroboration and just pay him for whatever he wants? No, we don't. There's nothing in place. There is something in place. Your fiduciary responsibility. I attended seminars at the National Retirement Board Convention, and I sat through a 2-hour presentation from a law firm that was making a living suing retirement boards for inappropriate investment of funds and lack of fiduciary oversight. We don't have a written policy, but there is a legal obligation for a fiduciary. So again, I call on the acting mayor, do something about this. Geez, Steve Camara gets paid. He didn't even live in the city. He's illegally sitting in that seat, and they're going to let him occupy that seat until the day his term ends, even though he was elected with fraudulent nomination papers. They're letting Jazel collect a salary when there's a state statute that says that leave has to be unpaid. We got a $35,000 settlement for somebody that didn't work, that never worked. Now we got an assessor who they're working out a buyout package for him. And we got a CFO who allows the mayor to run up credit card bills and never checks. And her excuse is, well, it was last year.
And we have no policy.
And we have no policy, but there is as I said, everybody, at the last show I told you, look it up. Go to the law dictionary, look up fiduciary obligation. I shouldn't have to say that to her, which means that in fact it was willful, as remember the malfeasance twins, nonfeasance, misfeasance, and malfeasance. And she's guilty of them all. So, look, it just drives me, it's bananas.
Nauseating.
As a taxpayer, as someone who pays taxes, it absolutely just nauseates me when I see this. Politicians taking care of politicians.
A surprise. right?
Remember, you can't investigate Joe Biden.
That's right.
Democrats taking care of Dems, Republicans taking care of Republicans, councilors taking care of councilors, mayors taking care of mayors, acting mayors taking care of former mayors. And how are they
State
taking care of them?
representatives
By tucking in our shorts.
That's right.
That's how they're taking care of them, by screwing the taxpayer of the city of Fall River. So now let's get to the big news, the news that you said basically
This is creating.
lit up the airwaves. The Facebook commandos were going bananas. Mayor-elect Coogan names transition team. Da-da-da-da, drum roll. And everybody's all up in arms. And we have 2 members of the transition team because Carlos Caesar just walked into the studio. And
The mayor's here? Oh, my God.
the mayor of the Flint. But, yeah, I guess there's been a lot of talk and a lot of coming out again, everything. The Never Trump, now we have Never Coogan. Look, it is a, 62-person committee. And look, I looked over the committee. I was appointed to the committee, as was Carlos. They're elect. He appointed this committee, and as we say all the time, don't prejudge. You can't prejudge Coogan. You're already doing it. Let's see what this committee comes up with.
Yeah, but remember, this committee is an advisory committee.
That's right.
They
And
can come up with the best ideas in the world and nothing happens
as
with
they
them.
did with Sutter.
And-
Sutter brought up Alan Silva, and Alan Silva gave him a perfect idea of what the finances of the city was, and he ignored every recommendation that Alan made. So look, it is an advisory committee, but look, there are people on here that I say, well, you know, I've had dealings with them before. If it was me, I wouldn't appoint them, but that's not, I'm not the mayor. He appointed them. I've negotiated with people I don't particularly agree with, and we've come to acceptable negotiation conclusions. I can work with people. And I, you know, but the thing is, we have to see what this committee comes up with. If they come up with things that are blatantly political, well, all these various committees. I can tell you one thing. Anybody that knows me knows that they're not going to hear what they want to hear. They're going to hear what I believe is right. And the same thing with Carlos. I know that Carlos has never been bashful, as I have never been bashful. I have gone before the council numerous times fighting, and I will say what I've got to say to these people. I will set the record straight, and I will say right now, frankly, I'm glad. I think if you were looking at some kind of positive, yeah, he's got a lot of people that have been in the political scene for a long time. But the fact that he appointed Carlos and Joe Castro and I shows something. Because the fact is, we don't represent real estate or business or banks. I have spent my entire life representing the workers in Fall River. And that's what I will continue to do. And being on a retirement board, I can guarantee you that this committee will get a clear picture of why the retirement has problems, and it's because of the city and because of what they did with their money and not put enough money in. They will get an accurate picture of the health care with Joe Castro and I, and they will get an accurate picture from Carlos Caesar as we see it. And we're not going to be bashful to disagree and show our case. And I have the numbers to support mine because I've done extensive research on the unfunded liabilities. I know I have every number with the health care too. So,
You mean the one that Kathy Ann saved $15 million on?
yeah. Look, I can tell you one thing. There are people on here that are not political stooges. You may say that some of these people are, but let's just see what happens when we come out of this. I know that Carlos will be there, and he will be advocating, as he always has, for the regular person, the person who has to try to make a living, the person who's living in a 3-decker in the Flint, the person who's living in a 3-decker anywhere in the city of Fall River. And he's on the Public Safety and Health Committee. So I'm sure he's going to be an advocate, and we'll have conversations on that, because I know he knows that I know just a bit about that too. But the reality is that, look, I see a lot of names here. I see some that I know are very, and they've got a good background. I may not agree with them on everything, because it's like a Republican and a Democrat that agree on nothing. With my labor background, I have a completely different perspective. Businessmen are businessmen. But I will advocate the point that this city is not a profit-making organization, and that we need to know where our finances are, and we need to spend them correctly, and we need to know how much money we have. But, everybody's making a lot of noise about this. Again, much to do about nothing. You may not like some of the people. You may like some of the people. I see some names here that I know for years. I'll just pick one at random. William Kelly, Professor, Arts and Humanities. He taught Durfee. Great teacher. Great teacher. My son had him for English at Durfee.
I had him for English at Durfee.
Great teacher. Really engaged guy.
My brief period there.
Eddie Costa, we all know Eddie. Eddie's been around, and he's worked with the kids. There's a lot of names. You could just go down this list I can pick, and I can pick some that I'm not like, I've had less than productive dealings with them. It's been more of a battle royal to negotiate some kind of settlement. But look, we're on a committee. We're there to give our opinion and try to do the best we can for the city. And whether I agree or disagree with any of these people, I'm not gonna prejudge anything on this committee. I'm gonna go in there and do what I always do, tell it like it is. And so will Carlos, and so will a lot of these other people that I see on this list. There are a lot of good people on this list, and everybody here, obviously has supporters and detractors. But as you said, the important thing is this fundamentally is a transition team that's going to make recommendations. There's not, we're not passing laws. We're not going to do, all we're going to do is do whatever the mayor-elect wants us to do. We're going to look over, in my case, on the financial transition team, we're going to look over the finances. Carlos will be there on public safety and health, and we're all going to, I think everybody there is going to try to do the best they can. We may have different opinions, and that's why there's 62 people in this thing. But I think that I see what I haven't seen that often on a transition team. I see a mix here. I see a mix of political people. I see a mix of working people. They've got somebody from the Bricklayers Union. So obviously his perspective is going to be different than a businessman or a banker. He represents working people. We have other people we have the Coalition of Social Justice represented, Debbie Fastino. So there are varying, which is to me a good sign. We've got diverse opinions, and all of which are going to be discussed, and they're going to be looked at, and you're going to have to prove your point, just as I expect to be able to prove anything I say. I will expect anybody to prove what they say if they have an opposite opinion, and hopefully this team can work together, get a consensus, and make some really good recommendations to help this city go in a positive direction. Because I've always been available. I've never been on a transition team before, because they probably don't want people like me on there, because I'm going to tell them what they don't want to hear.
I was on one before.
But if you remember, Will Flanagan called me in to consult one time. And the first thing I did was have a meeting with the union to tell them that I wasn't pro-administration. I was going to give the exact opinion, and of course then I ultimately didn't didn't even take the job because he expected me not to get involved with the health care at the time when they were trying to switch over to the GIC. So I had to respectfully refuse the job and fight to make sure that we didn't get screwed with the GIC. So, look, I know this is a horror show and you went at length at it, but my thing is just like anybody's candidacy. Let's wait and see.
Well, I agree, you know, but the people's being so upset was not revolved around the transition team itself. They were upset about what type of person was put on the team. The political insiders. And Paul Coogan said during his campaign, it's not going to be the good old boy network. No, now we got the good old boy network becoming the new boy network, as you said before. Okay? And when you look at some of these things, housing and urban development, Ron Rusin, he's got a real estate background, so housing and urban development's right up his alley. And Ron and I haven't seen eye to eye on many things. Carol Fiola, she's got a real estate background. Even though she's a state representative, she has a background in that. Steve Long, city councilor, I don't know what type of background he has. Deb Fastino, Director Coalition for Social Justice. What type of background does she have in housing? This is the big question.
We know what her background is, and
Right. It's all political.
She's an advocate for a lot of public housing. That's what
Yeah.
the Coalition of Social Justice does.
Right.
So, as I said, it's a mix, but she has been involved in housing issues.
Then
so.
you've got Kathleen Shedler-Clark, who's executive director of Stepping Stone. Stepping Stone deals with substance abuse.
Well.
And then you've got David Underhill, who is a member of the Fall River Housing Authority Joint Tenant Council and the Fall River Housing Authority board member. He's the tenant representative. So
you got the tenants, and then you got Fall River pawnbrokers.
Fall River pawnbrokers. So again, what housing background does he have? What urban development
Yeah, but
background
you
does
know,
he have?
CJ, like I said, it's hard not to put somebody on these committees that in Fall River who somebody doesn't know their name and either likes them or dislikes them. Because let's face it, these people are going there, they're not being paid. We're not going to be paid. I'm not getting a salary. I'm not being hired as a consultant. I'm being hired because I've got a commitment. I've had a commitment my entire life to the workers of the city, the retirement system, the healthcare system. And Carlos Caesar has been part of the Flint Neighborhood Association. They elected people who have been part of the community and are willing to actually volunteer. There are a lot of people that complain, but then wouldn't put the time in and wouldn't put the effort in. Go, I don't have time to go meet on a Saturday morning. I got better things to do with my time. So it's hard. Are some of these people politically connected? Yeah, but the thing that disturbs me about people, because as I said, I don't like labels. I know these people, and as you said, you disagreed with Rusin. So have I. The reality is that. But I've learned a long time ago, you can't just say, I don't like that guy because of X, because the fact is that you don't like them because you say they're connected, but you don't like them because they're connected with people that you don't like. But the people who are appointed to the committee that are connected to the people you do like, they're okay. And that's what bothers me about when you start picking apart these things, because you're not going to find anybody. You're not going to find many people in here who aren't known. I mean, people like Carlos and I, we're well known. I mean, Carol Fiola, obviously. But there are a lot of bankers and stuff that I see that probably their names aren't known. But I've been part of the regional task force, Fall River Regional Task Force, Battleship Cove committees, and a lot of committees. I see names. Joan Medeiros, former city councilor John Medeiros' daughter. She's been involved with this community for decades.
Right.
She's a great lady. And that's the kind of thing. They see these things and they start, but let's not judge. Let's see what happens. And as I said, I know one thing. Carlos will do his job.
Hey, we'll see you on Wednesday, everybody. Have a great day.